Presentation, Nuclear Spent Fuel and Homeland Security, is sponsored by the C10 Foundation and the Citizens Awareness Network. The content of this presentation is based upon 3 detailed technical reports that are available to the public. A citation to one of these reports is provided for each statement in the presentation. This allows viewers of the presentation the opportunity to examine issues in greater depth if they wish to do so. The 2005 National Academy's report on the biological effects of ionizing radiation underscores the need for unprecedented protection from radiation exposure, since it is now accepted there is no safe threshold and children are most vulnerable to its effects. For the sake of our children, we must exercise precaution in our manipulations of the larger world. Let's look at 3 related issues. First, atomic reactors are vulnerable and extremely dangerous terrorist targets because of their spent fuel pools. Second, a successful attack against Seabrook or Vermont Yankee's spent fuel pool could cause catastrophic health and economic consequences for a large area of the Northeast. And third, removing older spent fuel to hardened, bermed, dry cast storage is a relatively inexpensive means to greatly reduce the risk of catastrophic consequence from an attack on a U.S. commercial reactor. According to the National Academies of Science, spent fuel storage facilities cannot be dismissed as targets because of the attractiveness of spent fuel as a terrorist target. The committee judges that attacks by knowledgeable terrorists with access to appropriate technical means are possible. The committee finds that under some conditions, a terrorist attack that partially or completely drained a spent fuel pool could lead to a propagating zirconium cladding fire and the release of large quantities of radioactive materials to the environment. For a typical 1,000 megawatt U.S. pressurized water reactor, the spent fuel pool inventory, 400 tons of spent fuel, contains approximately 35 million curies of cesium-137. This is more than 17 times the cesium-137 released from the Chernobyl accident, where the radiation control zone today comprises an area 1/2 the size of New Jersey. A conservative estimate of the Seabrook spent fuel pool inventory of cesium-137 based on 2003 spent fuel data is 26 million curies. Why do we follow cesium? Cesium-137, with a toxic life of more than 300 years, accounts for most of the off-site radiation exposure that is attributable to the Chernobyl accident. An NRC study has concluded the fraction of the pool's inventory of cesium isotopes that would reach the atmosphere is 100%. A fire in a high-density pool, once initiated, would eventually involve all of the fuel in the pool. Pool buildings are not designed as containment structures. Thus, nuclear power plants and their spent fuel can be regarded as pre-deployed radiological weapons that await activation by an enemy. The U.S. government and the Nuclear Regulatory Commission seem unaware of this fact. While various modes of attack are foreseen, none with the greatest likelihood of causing serious damage can presently be defended against at reactor sites. Seabrook was one of only 4 reactors in the U.S. designed to withstand the impact of an aircraft, specifically a plane weighing 6 tons. The Mach 2 fighter shown here, stationed at Pease Air Force Base during Seabrook's construction, weighs 22 tons empty. Fully fueled commercial aircraft must be considered. Complete combustion of 13,000 gallons of jet fuel, less than a full tank for a Boeing 767, will yield the energy equivalent to 450 tons of TNT. 5,000 gallons, a full tank for a 737, yields energy equivalent to 173 tons of TNT. In September 1982 litigation before the Atomic Safety and Licensing Board, Wells Edelman contended that, quote, the plant's safety analysis was deficient because it did not consider the consequences of terrorists commandeering a very large airplane and diving it into the containment. In rejecting this contention, the ASLB stated, quote, military-style attacks with heavier weapons are not a part of the design basis threat for commercial reactors. Thus, applicants are not required to design against such things as artillery bombardments, missiles with nuclear warheads, or kamikaze dives by large airplanes, despite the fact that such attacks would damage and may well destroy a commercial reactor. The evidence indicates at least 2 recent plots to target U.S. atomic reactors, Seabrook in 2004 and one earlier. Quote, U.S. authorities have obtained information suggesting that the hijackers of United Airlines Flight 93, which crashed in Pennsylvania on 11 September 2001, were planning to hit a nuclear plant. This may be true or false, or the truth may never be known. Whatever the truth is, it would be foolish to regard nuclear plants as immune from attack. Vermont Yankee spent fuel pool lies just under the white top of the reactor building. Within the spent fuel pool, 35 million curies of cesium-137, only one of many fission byproducts, lay submerged in high-density racks. Note the lack of containment dome. Across the Connecticut River, the hills of Cheshire County, New Hampshire rise toward the city of Keene. Vermont Yankee, Pilgrim in Massachusetts, Fitzpatrick and 9 Mile Point in New York, and the Millstone plant in Connecticut each have one General Electric boiling water reactor with the spent fuel pool on top of the reactor building. The Seabrook probabilistic risk assessment finds that any direct impact on the containment weighing more than 37 tons will lead to penetration of the containment and a breach in the reactor coolant circuit. A similar impact on the control building or auxiliary building will inevitably lead to a core melt.